This weekend, UFC 279, we have a couple of Canadians on the card. I mean, we're Canadian, Chad Anheliger's Canadian, but we're not from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Chad Anheliger happens to train and live in the area out of Champions Creed MMA or Muay Thai. And if you do look at it for Anheliger, he has a teammate on the card in one Hakeem Dowodu up a weight class. And if you do look at it for the monster, I mean, a super successful UFC debut, couple of knockdowns, finishing Jesse Strader not that long ago. And I mean, for Anheliger, such an interesting case because he was a guy that kicked off his MMA career in 2010 and started off 2-5. And when most people would give up, Chad Anheliger went, nope, I'm going to win 10 straight fights and make it to the UFC. So for him, it's been really wild. He really did credit the fact that he switched up camps a number of years ago to Champions Creed, and that really lit the fire. He got to train with a lot of great fighters. It ended up getting him to the UFC. He became the Rise FC flyweight champ, then the bantamweight champ, and he has a great finish win over Brady Heastand that was in the finals of the second to last season of The Ultimate Fighter. So great stuff for Anheliger. I mean, his win on Dana White's Contender Series, coming over Muin Gafurov by split decision. Dana White's comments were 5-1 underdog, and he's Canadian, so what the hell? Dana White, I don't watch tape on any of these fights. But if you do look at it for Anheliger, I don't care if you beat Muin Gafurov by split decision. That guy's a hell of a fighter.
He is.
Combat Sambo, master of sport. And I know Gafurov might have faltered against, like, John Lineker and, like, Reese McLaren. Like, real deal fighters with one championship. That's fine. So a great win for Anheliger there. A great win over Jesse Strader. And Matt, I think the craziest part about a guy who spent time at flyweight, spends time at bantamweight, and again, neither one of these guys the tallest, longest bantamweights. This guy packs a damn punch for this division.
It is kind of wild, the amount of power that he possesses. Like, he has bricks in his hands, and it's absurd power. And I think it's really going to affect Alatengheili if he can land. Now, that's not a hot take. I think if he landed against, I don't know, Israel Adesanya, it would probably have somewhat of an effect because that's kind of power that Anheliger carries in his hands. The issue is, he can get behind in some of his fights and then rely on his power to get him out of some problems. Now, when you do have the great eraser to a lot of questions, which is his great power in both hands, you don't really worry about some of the in-betweens, but I had a boss once who says, hey, we worry about the small things a lot because the small things become big things if we don't worry about them. That's the thing for Anheliger. If he doesn't fix up some of the smaller holes in his games and just tries to rely on his power against, more ranked competition in the bantamweight division, that's when it is going to get interesting. But for Alatengheili, I think this is a really good fight for him at this stage of his career. It's sort of I'm here to kind of prove that I was who you thought I was. Because if he is able to go in there, let's say he could just out-wrestle Chad Anheliger, put a pace on him, kind of keep Anheliger fighting behind and really trying to rely on that one big power shot, I think a lot more people are going to be invested into the future of Alatengheili.
Well, and we've seen it out of Alatengheili, debuts against Pickett, Denis. It's a fight of the night. It's a great one. Fight. They mix it up. And I mean, if you do look at it since then, it was a lot of inactivity for Alatengheili. I mean, he beats Ryan Benoit, utilizes wrestling, which John Dodson didn't need to do with BKFC. That flurry was wild, by the way, if you haven't seen it. Casey Kenny in that fight, I mean, the judges scored at 30-27, 30-26, 30-25 for Kenny. Alatengheili could not close the distance, and he got completely outstruck.
Kenny landed every strike he threw in that fight.
Yeah, the fight against Gustavo Lopez for Alatengheili, in that one, the judges had him winning the first two rounds. And then in the third round, Gustavo Lopez is coming back. Alatengheili decides, I'm grabbing this fence, and he loses a point. So all three judges scored at 28-28. Would have been a win if not for that. And then his last time out, for some reason, Kevin Kroom wanted to be a bantamweight, which was a terrible idea, and Alatengheili stopped him in the first minute of the fight. So a great knockout win from there. His last number of camps has been spent at Fight Ready MMA, because if you do look at it for the Mongolian Knight, he was the first UFC Academy winner with the UFC Academy and the PI in Shanghai. So for Alatengheili, you go to Fight Ready, you've got Henry Cejudo, you've got guys like Aruchi Lang, you've got guys like Luis Saldana and Jonathan Pierce, and Demetrius Johnson, who was getting ready for his fight against Adriano Moraes. So a good level of training partner. He does like to throw big looping power shots to close the distance, to utilize his wrestling. And before he was in the UFC, at one point, he was the third-ranked freestyle wrestler in his weight class in all of China. which is wild.
And
because
it's very apparent in his game.
So many people that live in China. I don't know how many wrestle in his weight class competitively, but you catch my drift. It is really a hallmark of his game. So I think it's a good one. A little bit of a clash of styles. Both guys will bang. Anheliger's more of a car crash striker. 50-50 exchanges. Good chin, and his power wins out. Alateng mixes it up with his takedown. So, Matt, what do you have on this one?
I think Anheliger's going to need a stoppage to win this fight, if I'm being completely honest. And you hate relying on that for a fighter, for that to be his only method of victory. But still, I do think Alateng and his wrestling is going to be enough of an X factor to win a lot of moments throughout this fight. I could see this being a fight where Alateng gets 7, 8, 9 minutes of control time. It might not be the most aesthetically pleasing matchup of all time.
You want him to impress the fans, but fight boring.
But the problem is, let's say he does go in there and gets into a 1-for-1 type of exchange with Chad Anheliger. That's leaving the door wide open for Anheliger to just barge in and get a massive win and then really advance his own career. Because for Anheliger, he is 35 years old, and in the bantamweight division, you're getting up there. Now, I know he's not all that old in terms of fight years. He's still somewhat young in the sport, but still, at a certain point, you are going to start slowing down, even though power's the last thing to go, and it's one of the major components of his game. I just think for Haile Alateng, he is a little bit more well-rounded, and his foundation is a lot more with his grappling, and I do think that grappling is going to help him a lot in this fight, but I really could see this being a fight where Alateng wins 14 and a half minutes of it, just to get stopped in the last 30 seconds, because again, this is a very competitive matchup, and we have a lot of those on this card.
And if you do look at it, I mean, for Anheliger, open to plus 215, plus 143. He did get that win over Gafurov. He was able to rally a bit in that one. And if you do look at it for Alateng, open minus 255, minus 175 right now. We have a look at the Tapology votes, Matt. Surprised to us as they are to you. I'm going to set the over-under at 70% for Alatengheili in this match.
I think they'll be under.
I think they're going to be under. Look at that, right there. 645 total votes, 70% Anheliger, 71% by decision for the 30% that have Alatengheili, 67% by decision. I don't know who voted for Chad Anheliger that way. I don't know what fights they've been watching. That's kind of wild. Anheliger struggles with the takedown. He has in the past. He has on the way up. He did on Contender Series. Alatengheili's that guy with his takedowns. For those reasons, I have Alatengheili in this matchup. Could Anheliger knock him out? Sure. I don't necessarily see Anheliger winning a decision in this matchup because I think Alateng can close the distance on him. So again, I have Alatengheili here. Again, he's the favorite. The odds are dropping. The fans have Anheliger. Maybe I'm on the complete wrong end of this one.
Anheliger could, like Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades him, where Alateng's coming in for a shot from really far away, telegraphs the attack, and Anheliger blasts him with an uppercut. That's definitely a path to victory for him, but I still like Alateng in this matchup. Again, for all the reasons we laid out, he is definitely the superior grappler, and I think the pace is going to get to Anheliger at a certain point.
Both of us going with the Mongolian Knight, Alatengheili, to get the win. Let us know in the comments section if you're on the side of the Canadian. I was going to say fellow Canadian, but most of you are Americans. Anyway, let us know who you have in the matchup regardless. We have a big-time main card coming up with Kevin Holland and Daniel Rodriguez and Khamzat Chimaev and Nate Diaz.
A lot of welterweights.
Wild stuff. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.